Hey everybody, and welcome to the newest video of our chess opening survey that we're going to be doing here. Last time we talked about the Evans Gambit and wanted to keep going on that same path here, and I'm going to get into a little bit more detail today on some of the variations that you're going to be seeing so that you can really know exactly what to do in all these different situations. So I'm pulling a game up here right now. Last time we talked about, I'll get into our main position here. If we saw what Bobby Fischer did after black plays bishop to a5, where he played queen b3, and he ended up getting pressure down these files, and he ended up getting his rook on this file. That's how I would recommend you play against that. We saw how Kasparov played against Anand with the bishop e7 line by playing d4 and then getting his queen on the d4 square and transferring it over to g3 and putting the bishop on h6, preventing black from castling. I think that's a good idea as well. And today I want to show you if black plays bishop d6 and bishop c5 in this position. So our first game is from Super Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura in the U.S. Championships in 2012 against Robert Hess, who's a strong Grandmaster rated 2635. And Hess played bishop d6 here. And against this, I would recommend, this is a good way to start this video, just to kind of remind you that you're not going to checkmate the opponent's king every time. In chess, a lot of times is just about taking what your opponent gives you. And in this variation, you're going to get a solid position with a good central control, and you just need to develop your pieces behind that center and push for a slower type of advantage. So Hikaru plays d4, and Hess plays queen e7. Very normal moves. And Hikaru castles. Again, just being patient, taking what his opponent gives him. Knight f6 and knight b2 just to defend this pawn and develop another piece. Castles kingside for black. Rook e1, again just developing another piece. There's no hurry here. You're just down a pawn and you have sufficient compensation with this strong control of the center and the fact that this bishop hasn't been developed yet, and you're going to be able to develop your bishop at any point. And Hess plays bishop a3. Now I'm thinking that he probably wanted to play d6 and this bishop was in the way. So Hikaru takes this strong central pawn on e5. And something interesting to note here, if so after knight takes e5 and pawn takes e5, if this pawn isn't hanging here on e5, because if black takes it, his bishop would be hanging. So his knight was attacked, so he moves that away to safety. And Hikaru takes this advantage of the timing of this to play f4 and get this very strong pawn center. And Hess trades off these bishops, and I really like Hikaru's position here. This is very difficult to play for black. White has a very nice bishop here and a very strong center with his rook and queen lined up behind it. Hess is going to do everything he can to kind of hold things together, but Hikaru just plays it very patiently and develops his pieces. No rush here. And as you can see, this bishop is very nice, and he's got this good pawn center. So you'd much rather prefer white here. And we're just doing some pretty simple moves here. Hikaru is able to create some problems here. Now this pawn is weak. This knight is pinned. This pawn is pinned on the queen, so black is in some trouble here. And Nakamura wins a pawn, so he's up a pawn here. I'm going to stop this game here because it's kind of just a matter of technique moving forward. But that is one instance of that bishop d6 line, and I'll show you another one here. Bishop d6. Okay, perfect. So this is the white player rated 2593 against the black player Pintala Hari Krishna, who's actually one of the super GMs in the world right now. I think rated well over 2700, maybe even as high as 2740 or so. And we're going to get into our standard position here. And he played bishop d6 as well. And again, we just played d4. And this time, white castled, leaving this pawn hanging. But if black was to take this, you have issues with this e-file being open and the pawn being pinned on the king. So the knight's being pinned on the king. So obviously, black doesn't want to take this quite yet. He just castled, and then white protects it now. h6, preventing the bishop from coming here and pinning the knight. Knight d2, again, just easy development. Just get behind your center and trust that it's going to be good enough. And now white plays this typical queen b3 move, attacking this pawn on f7. Black defends f7. And then white slides his bishop back because it's going to be protecting this pawn. It's eyeing this h7 square, and he wanted to avoid knight a5, which would be attacking the queen and the bishop at the same time. So now when knight a5 comes, white can just move the queen away, and he still gets to keep his bishop. So black plays b6 to develop his bishop on this diagonal. Knight f1, just as you'll notice, this f5 square would be great for a knight, and the problem with this bishop d6 line is that black can't play d6, and so that's really what causes him issues in this line. So we just have some typical moves here, and we're going to see this f4 move again like we saw in the Nakamura game. So both games they traded on e5 and then played f4 to build up a strong pawn center. And now these pawns in the center are causing trouble for black. And then again, we see this bishop a3 move that I've told you about several times, pinning this pawn on the black queen here. And we're going to go through some normal moves here. White transferred his queen over to the king side. So again, these bishops are just very difficult to deal with. And white's got a very interesting attack going here. Knight a5, threatening to take this because the pawn is pinned on the king. So black just moves his king out of the way. And then another very common attacking thing that you're going to want to remember if you're an attacking player, the rook lift. So a lot of times you just bring your rook up so you can slide it over to the king side wherever you want. And then doubling up the rooks. And black gets rid of one of the strong bishops, which is good for him, but white still has a good attacking game here. And white just took a move out to defend this g2 square because the rook and the bishop were attacking it. And black actually missed this this knight e7 move. I'm assuming it's attacking the rook. And if white was to play like rook e6 or something, then rook takes e6, f takes e6 would be met with knight g6 check, forking the queen. So difficult to see in advance, and you can tell why he probably missed this. So knight e7, and white has a fantastic position here. Yeah, my computer gives white plus 2.2, so we're going to go ahead and end that one there. Great example of some typical ideas that you're going to want to know from this Evans Gambit bishop d6 line. Alright, so now let's do what if black plays bishop c5. And let me pull this game up here. Alright, so this is a 2600 rated player versus about a 2500 player. We're going to get into our normal position here. And this time black plays bishop c5 after it's attacked on b4. And we just push our pawn to b4, attacking the bishop. and when they trade, we're still attacking the bishop, and we have these nice 2 central pawns here. So I'll show you 2 moves, one where black retreats to b6 and one where black plays bishop b4 check. After bishop b6, white simply castles, and black plays d6 to get some sort of control over the center and allow his bishop to escape. And white simply develops his pieces. Black attacked the knight here, and he just moves the bishop here. He just moves it back onto this good diagonal. And black tries to pin the white knight, and it was interesting. White just moved his knight out of the way to bring it over to the king side, and he knows if black takes this knight here, he's going to take back, and that will open up the g file for his rook later on. So black tries to develop some pieces, and white just simply puts his bishop on e3. He's got two nice bishops here in the center of the board behind his pawn center. Black castles, and white plays h3 to force the bishop to commit to what it's going to do. And he does go ahead and double up white's pawns, but in the process he opens up the g file for the rook. And white again plays this f4 move, so this is a really nice pawn center with these bishops behind it. And white continues his pawn push forward, and he's has a very strong center here, and he's starting to aim towards the black king. So black did win a pawn here, because after bishop takes, queen check, and then take the knight here, but this bishop is going to be on such a good square that that's fine with white. So again, as you can see, white, black won a pawn there, but now this rook and this bishop are attacking the g7 pawn. So white was totally fine with that exchange. f6 to block that file off, and now white is just slowly getting all his pieces into the game. His rook was attacked there on a1, so he moves it to this open file, and now he brings his queen into the attack on this file, and it was attacking the knight also, so the knight had to sacrifice itself for a pawn, or it would have just been lost. And this is just a huge attack for white. So I'll show you a couple more moves, but this bishop is eyeing the white king here, and this is a big blunder, and black actually lost his queen here, so he resigned on that move. So I'll show you one more game. That was another good illustration of some attacking ideas. And this final one from the same position, but black plays the bishop b4 check move instead of bishop b6. So we'll get into our standard position here, and this time bishop b4 check. And I thought it was interesting, white plays king f1 here instead of blocking it, because he doesn't want the pieces to get traded off. So he knows he's got his big pawn center, and his bishop is on a good square. He's got good scope for developing these pieces onto good squares, so he just moves his king over. And queen e7 getting developed, and we're just gonna play some typical moves here. And black, actually knowing some of the issues that other people have had in the Evans Gambit, castles queenside, but white is still able to develop sensibly and start here in just a minute, getting an attack on the black queen side where the king is now. So that king f1 to g2 idea is kind of cool. So now it's behind its pawn chain, and this rook can escape and get over to the queen side. So that was a cool idea. And white is just putting the rook on the open file with the queen. And now, white is just causing a lot of issues for black. He attacked the queen here, now he's attacking the queen here, and he just won that pawn, skewering the excuse me, forking the 2 rooks here. And now this knight gets in the game attacking the queen. And I won't show you all the way through this game, but you know, black was able to take this pawn, and the king had to try to escape and didn't quite make it all the way. So another cool illustration of some attacking ideas. All these games, just very sensible development, getting your big pawn center, getting your pieces behind the pawn center, and pushing it from there. So I hope you learned a little bit from this. You're getting more comfortable with the Evans Gambit, and maybe you can start playing it in your own games. If you want to see more on this, or like any of the videos you've seen, I hope you've subscribed to the channel, and we'll cover more of the Evans Gambit on the next one. Thanks. Bye.